Hi guys, just FPL here, welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'll be talking you guys through the best mid price forward, I think, in my opinion, because with a lot of teams I see, their structure is mostly with two strikers, a premium striker and a mid price striker, and with there is a lot of options in this price range, the 6 and 7.5 million, so it's easy to switch between all these forwards. If one forward picks up form or scores a brace, it's easy to switch between these forwards. So I'm going to be talking you guys through each forward I picked a few of the forwards which I think is one of the best in this price range, and I'm going to be talking you guys through it. So first we do have Callum Wilson. Now his stats look brilliant. His expected goals and expected assists, the shots per 90 and non-penalty expected goal involvement. Callum Wilson, if he gets minutes per 90, he will have one of the best underlying data in the forward position. Now he's taking quite a lot of shots, as you can see here. 8 goals and 0 assists last season. Now he was injured for a lot of last season, and to manage to pick up 8 goals was still really good. And remember, when he was playing, it was at the start of the season where Newcastle won that strong of a team. They were slightly weaker. They were fighting for survival and all this. They were lower down in the table, so they weren't the very strong defense, a very good team that they were towards the end of the season. They were slightly weaker, and it was a different manager. So with a new manager, Eddie Howe, coming in, I would like to see how he uses Callum Wilson. Now there was rumors in the transfers that Newcastle were looking for an attacker, but I think Callum Wilson will get his minutes. He will get his time to prove, as the opening 2 fixtures look great, but then they do play Liverpool and Wolves, so it gets slightly tougher then. But with Nottingham Forest at home at the first game, is a really good opportunity for you to attack those great fixtures as the start for Newcastle. And at 7.5 mil, he's one of the slightly more expensive forwards. His ownership is quite low, so you could say he's a differential as well. And I think he's a really good option if you want to pay 0.5 more for or extra money up front, or if you go cheaper, you want to find money, you could downgrade a player like Gabriel Jesus to Callum Wilson. Next we have Taiwo Aouar. He came in from Union Berlin to Nottingham Forest. Union Berlin, they had a really good season in the Bundesliga last year, and they picked up European football. So Taiwo Aouar was the top scorer, 15 goals, 1 assist. These stats are from the Bundesliga, and his stats look impressive for a 6 mil forward. The data, his non-penalty expected goal involvement is quite high, and one of the best ranked between the forwards in the list. So he has actually the best non-penalty expected goals between all these forwards I'm going to talk about today. He has the highest one, but remember, this was taken from a smaller sample size, a 34 game period, because the Bundesliga has lesser games, and of course it was against you could say weaker opponents, as it was in the Bundesliga. So my stats look brilliant, and if he performs as the stats say here, he could be a really good differential come game week 1. The fixtures, he started off with decent fixtures: Newcastle, West Ham and Everton. Then the fixtures do get slightly tougher with Tottenham at home. But I think if you again want to attack those early great fixtures and planning to take an early wild card, I think Aouar could be a one. Just a punt and go on the punt for Aouar. His stats look impressive, and I think a manager like me, I think is a wait and see let's see how he adapts into the Premier League. The Bundesliga players coming into the Prem, not all are successful. Players like you could say Kai Havertz, he took time. Timo Werner, he's still quite to adapt to the Prem, so not everyone will be successful coming into the transition from Bundesliga to the Prem. But I think he could be a good option when Nottingham Forest do have great fixtures, but I think he is a wait and see for me. Next we have Ivan Toney. Now Toney, his non-penalty expected goal involvement is not the best, So without pens, he doesn't look good, but then he has penalties, so it's a key factor for him. Players like Callum Wilson, him, Awani, we don't know yet if he's going to be on pens because they have player like a Brendan Johnson who is on penalties, but Ivan Toney, we know he's on pens, and if he is on pens, there is a big advantage between other forwards that aren't on pens. So his non-penalty expected goal involvement isn't the greatest, as we can see, a 0.43. If you add penalties, his stats look quite good, but without pens, his stats doesn't look the best. Now Toney, I think with 12 goals and 5 assists, he did pick up more goals towards the later end of last season, and that is because when Christian Eriksen came in, Christian Eriksen played a key factor in Brentford's, good run towards the end of last season. Ivan Toney, he did improve a lot towards the end. He was because Christian Eriksen was creating a lot of chances for a player like Ivan Toney to finish those chances. So his stats are better towards the end if you're just taking from a small amount of period, and if you take towards the end of the season, his stats look really well. But overall, the whole season, I think it was a good season for him. And looking at those fixtures, the first two do look quite tough. A Leicester side and Man United. Depends what Man United we get, but after that the fixtures look quite good. So Fulham and then Everton. Fulham, a newly promoted side, we don't know what to expect from them, and his shots per 90 is quite decent. So I think he's a really good option up front. But for 7 mil, you have players like Anthony Martial, who's picking up form during pre-season at that price point. So he is kind of, you could say, prem proven, but there is rumors, people are suggesting that Brentford could have second season syndromes, which I don't believe in, but it could happen for a team like Brentford. Baby teams know how to play against Brentford now, and Brentford could be a poorer side. But for now, Ivan Toney at 7 mil, I think he's a good option to have, especially with Brentford's great fixtures at the start of the season. Next, we have Mika Antonio. Now, Mika Antonio, here as you can see, 7.5, again, the more expensive striker, but his stats do look quite impressive. 10 goals, 8 assists, but if you look at the non-penalty expected goal involvement per 90, he does rank quite highly among all the forwards, to be fair. You have forwards like Jesus have the best underlying stats, and he's on another level, but he's 8 mil, and we're going to talk about mid-price forwards. And Mika Antonio at 7.5 mil with a 0.55 non-penalty expected goal involvement is actually the third best among all these mid-price forwards, from 5.5 to 7.5. So he's ranked third best, and I think a lot of people are not looking at West Ham options because they do have that Man City at home game at the start of the season. But then it does get quite good from then. They do have Nottingham Forest, Brighton, and then Aston Villa. So Antonio, I think, is a great option. Don't get put off by that opening fixture against City. City, anything can happen. Last season, West Ham did score 2 against City, so anything can happen. His ownership is quite low, so it's another great differential as well. All these forwards in this list has quite low ownership, so if you want to go for them, they do look quite good of an option. And I think Mika Antonio, he's proven in the Prem, but if he stays injury free, he will be a great option like the previous season. But the one thing is, his injury record isn't the greatest. He's picked up a lot of injuries in the past few seasons, and with West Ham looking to strengthen their attack with players like Jesse Lingard coming in, and Benrahma could be pushed up to the wings, and Jarrod Bowen can play up front, and West Ham are heavily linked with Broja. So Broja, I think it's almost a done deal for now. West Ham, if they get Broja, if Broja comes in, he will have competition, Mika Antonio, and I think you could make argument who's going to start, but I think it's Mika Antonio's place to lose, and for Broja to fight for that spot. So I think Broja coming in will create competition and maybe lesser minutes for Mika Antonio if he doesn't perform. So I think he's a wait and see, Mika Antonio, but you could go for him early on in the season, the first few game weeks, and then we could see maybe when Broya comes in and knows the system better. But I think at the start, Antonio will get his chance, and if he doesn't take his chance, it's his spot to lose. Next, we do have Patrick Bamford. Now, Bamford, 7.5, being compared to forwards like Callum Wilson and Mika Antonio, his stats is better, but remember it was from a very, very small sample size, so you can't really compare it to the forwards like Callum Wilson, Mika Antonio, especially Mika Antonio, because Mika Antonio played a lot of games last season compared to, of course, Bamford. So Bamford, he had a lot of injuries last season, and he only managed to get very, very little minutes. The Leeds fixtures looked great at the start of the season, with Wolves, Southampton, Chelsea and Brighton. But I think for Leeds, with a new manager, Jesse Marsch coming in, which Bamford hasn't really been playing under Jesse Marsch much. I think we will have to wait and see for this one again. I don't really like to go for a risky player like Patrick Bamford, with the 5-sub rule. We don't know what formation is Jesse Marsch going to play. He could play a 2 up front, a 1 up front. It's going to be very confusing, and I think Patrick Bamford, a wait and see. I just think wait the first few games, see how Leeds play, see what tactic Jesse Marsch uses, and see if Patrick Bamford has a spot in that team, and then we only decide if we want to go for him, because his data, his underlying stats look really good, but the eye test, he hasn't really passed the eye test much. You could say during the 1920 season when Leeds got promoted, that was the season where you could say Leeds, the 2021 season, you could say that season Patrick Bamford was on another level. But now his stats, his goals and assists, 2 goals, 2 assists, isn't the greatest compared to other of these forwards. So I think now is a wait and see for Patrick Bamford. But if you really want to go out for him, I think it's a high risk and high reward player. And lastly, we do have Ollie Watkins. Now Watkins, he is, I think, one of the better options from this list. Aston Villa, I think, will be one of the top performing teams the next season, with making improvement. They are making a lot of improvement, signing players like Carlos, Kamara. They are making a lot of improvements, and I think the attack will be stronger next season. Now I think we have a rough idea what Steven Gerrard plays. Either a 4-2-3, he plays either a 4-3-1-2 or a 4-3-3, and I think both of those formation, I think Ollie Watkins is the preferred striker between him and Danny Ings. His stats look great: 11 goals, 2 assists, shots per 90, 2.33, non-penalty expected goals involvement, 0.44. So his stats look great. The fixtures: Bournemouth, Everton, Crystal Palace, West Ham, is a great run at the start, but their fixtures do get tougher throughout after game week 4. So for the first 4 game weeks, I think the fixtures look fantastic. And if you want to go for Ollie Watkins, last season Aston Villa, they were a yo-yo club. They were just a mid-table club, because when Steven Gerrard came in, his job was very simple, and was to survive the drop, and they did. And then we didn't really see much. They did rotate a lot, they did try a lot of different youngsters, and it was just a very boring season at the end of last season for Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard. So the whole pre-season to prepare under Steven Gerrard, we could see Ollie Watkins become a really good option next season. So I think he is a good option, but for 7.5 million, you could get a lot better, I think, in my opinion. Players like Mika Antonio, Patrick Bamford, if he performs, and of course Callum Wilson. So Watkins, I think, is a great player to own, but compared to for his price tag, you could get better. So guys, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been me, Just FPL. I'll see you guys in the next one.